Prof, it's 10:31, insyaAllah.
Tentu saya dah live kan?
All right, thank you Raja Munira. Prof, are you ready? Prof, it's 10:31, insyaAllah.
Yes, we are ready.
Saya dah live kan?
All right, we can begin, yeah, Prof, insyaAllah?
Yes.
All right, okay. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Let's begin our session today with the recitation of Al-Fatiha. Bismillah. Assalamualaikum and a very good morning to everyone. Welcome to yet another webinar organized by CELPAD Research Unit. I am Engku Haliza Engku Ibrahim, the coordinator of Research Unit for CELPAD. I have the honor of introducing our invited speaker for today, Prof. Dr. Sejahtera Haji Sarudin, who really needs no introduction to the academic community. Dr. Sejahtera Haji Sarudin is a professor at the Center for Languages and Pre-University Academic Development of the International Islamic University, Malaysia. He was the former Deputy Director of Academic and Industrial Linkages of IIUM. He was also the former Dean of CELPAD. As an active panel member of Malaysian Qualification Agency, Professor Sarji has audited more than 15 academic programs at various public and private institutions of higher learning. As an advisor and consultant in curriculum design and program evaluation, he has been involved in designing and evaluating more than 20 programs at different institutions of higher learning. As a master trainer for outcome-based education, with 30 years of experience in language education, Professor Sarji has conducted more than 30 training programs on OBE. He has also conducted more than 14 university-wide workshops and webinars on INSAN, Sejahtera, and Khair. Professor Sarji is also a member of IRKHS Future Studies Unit. Before I invite Professor Sarji, I'd like to take this opportunity to express my appreciation to Sister Aisha Abdullah, the coordinator of CELPAD Teacher Development Unit, for her insight on the topic of Prof's presentation today. Thank you, Sister Aisha, for taking the time to brainstorm with me. We deliberated on ways in which we could tailor-make the topic so that it could be of particular relevance to language educators. Without further ado, the CELPAD Research Unit would like to invite Prof. Dr. Sejahtera Haji Sarudin to enlighten us on Sejahtera Academic Framework in Language Teaching and Learning, an area that many of us are still trying to familiarize ourselves with, inshallah. The screen is all yours, Prof. Tafaddal.
Thank you very much, Associate Professor Datin Dr. Engku Haliza Engku Ibrahim, our moderator today. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alamin. Wassalatu wassalamu ala ashrafil anbiya mursalin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Respected Director of CELPAD, Dr. Rusnani Kasim, Deputy Directors, the heads of departments, the coordinators, and all fellow colleagues, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. First of all, I'd like to take this opportunity to congratulate Dr. Rusnani Kasim for the reappointment as Director of CELPAD. We make dua that CELPAD will continue to prosper under her leadership. I would like to congratulate also other appointees this year. Yeah. At the same time, I would like to congratulate Associate Professor Datin Dr. Engku Haliza Engku Ibrahim, the coordinator of CELPAD Research Unit, and also our moderator today for organizing this wonderful webinar at an opportune time, not only during this lockdown, but also during the Merdeka months. My name is Sarji, and our webinar today will be a sharing session on Sejahtera Academic Framework in Language Teaching and Learning. I hope it can be a santai session, just like having a cup of coffee. Imagine if we are at Srambi One Cafe, or one of your favorite cafes, relax, loosen up, and unwind yourself and talk about Sejahtera Academic Framework. It's a very serious, discussion in a very relaxed environment. But before we get into Sejahtera Academic Framework, or SAF, I hope you still remember our INSAN Sejahtera Framework. Datin, our slide. you need to have a good knowledge of INSAN Sejahtera framework to understand SAF. So when you talk about our INSAN Sejahtera framework, okay, I call it INSAF. If you want to invent an acronym, yeah, if you want to invent an acronym, you have SAF, Sejahtera Academic Framework. You can also call INSAN Sejahtera Framework INSAF. I, INSAN, S, Sejahtera, S, Sejahtera, and A, F, Framework. So you can come up with your own acronym. So what does INSAF mean? That is INSAN Sejahtera Framework. To turn over a new leaf. Dah taubat dah. Dah taubat. So all right, now, so do you still remember the components of INSAF or INSAN Sejahtera Framework? Alhamdulillah, everyone said yes, even though I couldn't hear it. I could hear in your heart. So excellent. So remember, yeah, when you talk about INSAN Sejahtera Framework or INSAF, you have the philosophy, the vision, the 7 mission statements of IUM. You have the Maqasid Al-Syariah. You have the Falsafah Pendidikan Kebangsaan, FPK. You have the Sustainable Development Goals, the SDGs. You have the MQF 2.0, that is the Malaysian Qualification Framework yang baru 2.0 under MQA, Malaysian Qualification Agency. IUM and CELPAD we do not have to submit it because we do not have degree programs, yeah. But the kuliahs, they have to submit these documentations. And then we have the 4 pillars of education, you have the OBE. These are important components of INSAF or Sejahtera framework. So now let's talk about the Sejahtera Academic Framework, just introduced this year by the university. Since 2019, I just want to give the background. Yeah? Since 2019, the university has introduced, realigned, retransformed, restructured, reconstructed, all the words that we use, many initiatives, many terms, many acronyms, many concepts. I think, I'm not sure whether you remember all the concepts, but the university has introduced so many in the effort to propel IIUM to greater heights, in particular to continue to be a global player. So as an example, just like any other organizations, yeah, we have our philosophy, vision, and mission statements with Prof. Kamal. The issue is we have been having that for so many years. How many of these organizations, or like IUM, are able to translate the philosophy, are able to translate the vision, are able to translate these mission statements into action, how to apply it? More importantly, have we been provided with specific, not general, specific guidelines, ada tak guidelines, procedures, steps, frameworks, in order for us to implement this vision, mission, and the philosophy, the IICE, to put it into action in our daily activities, in our curriculum, in our ecosystem. Do we know how to do it for the past so many years? Do we have a specific framework and step-by-step procedures for us to adopt and apply? So sebagai tenaga pengajar IUM, macam mana nak melaksanakan IICE? Teaching, in research, in supervision, in publication, in community and industry engagements. As I said just now, do we have a specific framework? Do we have a specific system, diagram, or procedures to follow? It is a difficult question to answer. And Tan Sri asked this when he joined IUM. And it was difficult for me to explain Islamization, explain IICE, other than what we have in terms of the general understanding. Of course, we have a booklet on that. So Prof. Zulkifli, Tan Sri Zulkifli, our rector, wanted to apply IICE in action, but there were limited frameworks that he could follow, adopt, or emulate. So he introduced United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, 17 Sustainable Development Goals, in order to translate IICE into action. Yeah? So he said before this, yeah, he said, how do we translate IICE into action? He feels that SDGs, yeah, the 17 goals of SDGs, would be the best option to explain and translate IICE into action. Now, let me ask you, what is SDGs in Malay? Datin, tahu tak Datin or Raja Munira? What is IICE? What is SDGs in action in Malay?
SDG in Malay.
Yeah.
Astaghfirullah. Boleh tak ada orang BMD ya tolong. Sustainable.
Anything in the chat room, in the chat box? Datin?
In the chat box. Could anyone answer that? Please help me out.
What is SDGs in Malay?
Caught me off guard.
Tak apa, sengaja supaya everybody is awake. Okay, I will help you. SDGs in Malay is Matlamat Pembangunan Lestari.
Wow. Okay, I wouldn't have guessed that. Okay.
17 Matlamat Pembangunan Lestari. Campur satu lagi religion jadi 18 lah. So that's what the director did. He introduced this so that we can translate TPACK into action. Then the director introduced FPK, Falsafah Pendidikan Kebangsaan, because he said that if you are using United Nations SDGs, why don't we use our own falsafah at the national level? So, and the falsafah was on the shelf for so many years, so reintroduced that at IUM. Remember, one whole book was written about FPK, Falsafah Pendidikan Kebangsaan. So the main goal is, why? Just like the main goal of IUM, to produce holistic, daripada kepala sampai kaki, tangan, hati, spiritual, holistic and balanced individuals or graduates. Yakni comprehensive and yet balanced, the al-mizan, yeah? Balanced graduates, holistic and balanced graduate. And also to re-emphasize or refocus, yakni menekankan semula, memfokuskan semula kepada maqasid al-syariah. Maqasid was emphasized, was introduced by Datuk Sri Zaleha, or former rector, in order to realize it atau untuk melaksanakannya di IUM, to realize it at IUM. So you have the SDG and you have the FPK, you have the maqasid to help explain, apply our TPACK. If we refer to the slide on SAF, yeah, we can see these components. So Datin, the slide on SAF. Okay.
Yeah, trying to. Okay.
So this is the generic Sejahtera academic framework. So as SAF, yeah, let us refer to SAF like this slide. At the top of SAF, we have maqasid al-syariah. What are the components? This is the first component, yeah, the necessary component, that is religion, life, intellect, wealth, and lineage. Lineage. So religion is agama lah. Life is our life, intellect is our cognition, our mind, our intellectual capacity, our ilm, and wealth, and our lineage. Lineage is keturunan. Keturunan kita sampai anak cucu, daripada datuk sampai anak cucu kita. So that's the first part that we have. So here when you talk, why do we include this the first category of maqasid al-syariah? This is the important thing. This is to protect and promote religion, to protect and promote life, to protect and promote intellect, that is for ilm, intellect, and to protect promote wealth, and to protect and promote lineage, our keturunan. Actually, if you look at maqasid, there's a bigger picture on that. Muslim scholars have classified maqasid syariah into 3 categories. You're talking about daruriyat, that's what we have right now, the essential, the necessities. And then we have the hajiyat, you have the tahsiniyat, the desirables and the luxuries. But our focus is on the daruriyat, that is the essential, the necessities, the compulsory thing. So these are the 5 daruriyat that we are supposed to focus on. And we move to slide 4, Datin, maqasid and SDGs. Okay. Boleh, Datin?
Can you see it, Prof?
Okay, yes. So we have, so the one that you see in SAF is the first category. Yani the 5 necessities of essentials or daruriyat, namely the protection and promotion of life, hifzul nafs, faith, religion, hifzul deen, and intellect, hifzul akal kita, lineage, hifzul nafs, and wealth, hifzul mal. So these 5 essentials or daruriyat are similar to the 5 P's of SDGs. Remember the 5 P's of SDGs: partnership, peace, people, planet, and prosperity. Why they are not there? Because our maqasid al-syariah is more comprehensive, because we have all plus religion. Yeah, so that's why it is put there. I need to point out that the 5 P's of SDGs lack a very important necessity, namely faith or religion. So that's why again, maqasid al-syariah is aligned with our IUM philosophy, vision, and mission statements, because religion or faith is very important for a human being. So if you are teaching LQ 4000, for example, let me put this in a different perspective. what you are doing right now, SAF in language teaching learning. If you are teaching LQ 4000, LQ 4400, LEED 1301, or LED English for occupational purposes, or Bahasa Melayu courses, you know, these are courses on academic writing, language for occupational purposes, or public speaking, which require students to write a report, or write a persuasive essay, or present the report, or present the findings. The topics chosen by the students. So you have to have a topic to do this. So the topics chosen by the students in your class or provided by you will definitely fall under one of these 5 necessities. Tapi kalau kita letakkan the 5 P's of SDGs, religion is missing. So when you talk about Al-Maqasid, it will cover all the 5 necessities, all the topics, the protection and promotion of life. Mesti ada topic on that. The promotion and protection of religion, intellect, wealth, and lineage, that is keturunan. So what are some examples of the topics that have been used in these classes? For example, issues and frequent water interruptions or water pollution. So it's dekat Selangor ni kita kata frequent water interruptions lah. So Alhamdulillah now it's okay, but in the past almost every month kita ada water interruption in Selangor. So that can be a good topic. Alcoholism, drug abuse, unemployment, homeless people, suicide, mental health, abortion, migrant workers, illegal workers, literacy or illiteracy, business scams, illegal clearings, deforestation, poverty, divorce, LGBT, etc., etc., etc. So LGBT is about protection and promotion of lineage, or keturunan. So these topics that you've been covering, that the students have been writing, are all related to Al-Maqasid Al-Sharia and SDGs. So in reality, you are doing it, and you have been doing it, and you are going to do it. So all you need to do is just to mention it in your course learning outcomes, which we will do later. So, but do you realize that all these topics are negative topics? All these topics are negative topics. Do you know why these so-called negative topics are so popular? I remember in the 90s, early 90s, when we used all the commercial books for English, there are so many, most of them are negative topics. The chapters, the topics, the themes. But now we have changed. They are so popular because they are controversial topics. These are controversial topics. Thus, they allow or they provide the main platform, a platform for critical thinking, focusing on higher order thinking skills. So still, we cannot run away from HOTS and LOTS, higher order thinking skills, lower order thinking skills, kemahiran berfikir aras tinggi, kemahiran berfikir aras rendah, which will in turn lead to critical reflection. So you have critical thinking, higher order thinking skills, and it will lead to something that is higher, that is critical reflection, critical contemplation, or tafakkur, observing and contemplating God's creation, for example. Thus, not only did we enjoy goodness, good relationship with fellow human beings into this topic, hablum minan nas, and other lives, but also good relationships with Allah SWT, hablum minallah. So semua tajuk-tajuk ini telah digunakan oleh pelajar-pelajar dalam Arabic ke, Bahasa Melayu ke, and also English courses, and perhaps tilawah also. At the same time, do remember, janganlah fokus on negative topics only. Focus on positive topics of Maqasid based and SDG based. So do choose positive topics on achievements, solutions such as rainwater project, affordable housing. Sekarang ni graduates nak kerja tak pun susah, tak ada kerja, ada kerja gaji rendah, nak beli rumah tak boleh, kena duduk dengan ibu bapa. So they can talk about that. They can talk about free wakaf education. We look at our Islamic school. If you don't have the money, we go to the normal school. If you have the money, we go to the international school. Why can't we have the wakaf system, free wakaf education? Good education for everybody who can, not only for those who can afford it, but everybody can afford it. Focus on big data analytics solution is very popular right now. Our INSAN Sejahtera produced by us and also the ministry is the Sejahtera, where we go for our vaccination, maybe we check our COVID 36, we go for Sejahtera. That is the apps that we use and we publish, we develop with the ministry using big data analytics. Affordable artificial intelligence management system, ataupun affordable electric vehicles on campus, healthy food intake, healthy lifestyle, rehabilitating our river of life. These are all, we can go into positive topics. Always remember that it is advisable. Okay, we advise everyone, we strongly advise to start with issues and topics that are very close to our heart. Issues that involve our local community. Tan Sri has mentioned this many times. We go to the world, but we forget our neighbors. So look at issues that involve our local community, our Sungai Cincin community, yeah? Like rehabilitating our river of life. Apa sungai yang kita panggil? Datin lah, tanya lagi. Apa sungai yang goes through our campus, Datin? Sungai Gombak ke, Sungai Cincin ke, sungai apa?
Prof. Hari ni hari kuis saya ke Sungai Gombak.
Someone will just write in the chat box, ya. Betul atau tidak? So during the that's okay. So during the pandemic, during the pandemic now, the river is very clean. Am I right? You can see more fish, more boats, and also and other creatures enjoying their habitat. That's their habitat, and this is their habitat. Ini kampung dia. Kita yang meneroka tempat dia. But after the pandemic, believe me, it will be back like before. Murky water, flash flood. Remember flash flood? Flash flood. Sorry, my lips are very dry. Flash flood, which had cost us several million ringgits before. During the flash flood, remember, this is because illegal or uncontrolled or unsustainable activities upstream, dekat di hulu sungai itu. Teroka hutan secara haram, perumahan haram yang tak teratur, atau perumahan yang tak haram tapi tak teratur, korek pasir haram, dan etc. So start with this river of life topic, which is an issue in our local community, as an example. So how do you relate that to SDG? SDG 14, life below water. And we talk about SDG 15, life on land. Or for Makassar, it's protection and promotion of life, and also wealth, and that is property. So how else can you make it very realistic for this topic? So you have started with that topic, you have included SDG and Makassar, and how can you make it very realistic? Focus on the local community. The river of life is an issue at the local community level, then follow it at the state level, national level, regional level, and finally at the global level. We can do it by guiding our students. Firstly, as an example, LQ 4,400, our academic writing course. So firstly, we can support and fundraise for charities. While we are asking these students to do it. At the same time, we promote fundraise for charities or NGOs fighting water pollution or illegal clearings. So we can work with the NGOs like wildlife organizations, Sahabat Alam, Persatuan Pengguna Islam, and other NGOs. I will not ask the Tengku what other NGOs can participate here. Or establish our IUM support group. So you are teaching them report writing, am I right? For all these courses, letter writing, business correspondence, letter writing, and business correspondence. So guide them, teach them how to write to our local councillors, local and national politicians, to support actions against water pollution and legal clearing. Guide them how to write to our adun Gombak ke, atau member parlimen Ulu Kelang ke. Those who are staying in Ulu Kelang and Gombak, who is our adun? Datin answer ke tu? Who is the member of parliament? Write to Menteri Besar Selangor. Write to the Menteri Alam Sekitar. Write to Menteri Pelajaran. Even the Prime Minister. Work with students to produce TikTok videos on these issues. Get the industry involved. We have the industry, so don't forget the industry. Write to them, then tell our family, our friend, and others to join and to do the same thing. This is what humanizing higher education is all about. This is what learning to know. Remember in our SAF framework, learning to do, learning to live together, and learning to be is all about. Learning to know, that is the knowledge that you have in terms of these topics. Learning to do, you do it, you apply it, that's your action. Learning to live together, that is how you deal with other people, the community, the industry, the politicians, and learning to be is all about part of you. Internalize the whole thing. This is that you have to internalize the whole thing by doing this. So there is no point of having a critical discussion, a persuasive paper about a topic or an issue in the classroom, or a presentation about a controversial issue or critical thinking issue, but there is no follow-up action. It is only an academic exercise. We have to go beyond an academic exercise. I remember early 2000 something English for occupational purposes course a long time before, maybe now also, where we had to ask the students to go to the zoo to see how we can help the zoo, generate more income so that they can feed the animals. So we went to interview them, the students went to interview them, come up with a survey, blah, 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 and then present it in the board. They presented in the board in the zoo, the solutions to it. So that is part of linking our work with the outside world, the reality of life. I think some of you might still remember Karam Singh Walia, yeah? An investigative journalist. Have you remember that? Do you remember that, Atin? Karam Singh Walia?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm old enough.
The new ones, I tak tahulah kalau Khairul ke atau Dr. Zul ke still remember all this and the rest, yeah. Remember Karam Singh Walia, the investigative journalist, dia kata kalau tidak pecahkan ruyung, manakan dapat sagunya.
Of course, kita ingat.
Biar sampai genggam api, biar sampai jadi arang. Alang-alang menyelup perkasa, biar sampai ke pangkalan. Ingat tak? Kan?
Ingat.
Yeah, yes, all this. And Al-Ghazali also said, Al-Ghazali, yeah, ilmu tanpa amal adalah sia-sia. Amal tanpa ilmu adalah gila. Ataupun memang sia-sia also. So, ilmu, we have the ilmu. Tapi kalau kita amalkan, sia-sia. Kita mengamalkan, but we don't have ilmu, tak ada ilmu, ada gila. So, knowledge without action is wasteful. Or action without knowledge is great wastefulness. So this is where you acquire and apply the principle of Maqasid Acharya and SDGs. Guide students to engage their friends, guide students to engage the community, engage the industry, engage the NGOs, engage the state government. This is the quintuple helix model, engaging 5 different entities. Tapi, if you go for a quintuple helix model, that is 7, it will look like this. The next slide, please. So this is the quintuple helix model. 7 entities. You start with the community, and then you have the industry, you have the state government, you have the federal government, engage the NGOs, engage the environment, and by all means, engage the world. And then see the impact. Kalau tidak, it becomes an academic exercise. And then you can include that in your teaching. At the bottom tu, ada bawah tu, ya. Teaching, supervision, research, publication. Incorporate that, include that in your teaching. It's part of your supervision. If you supervise your students' final year projects or master's thesis or PhD dissertations, make it one of the topics of the thesis. In teaching, this is what we are doing right now. In research, in publication, innovation, and also in community engagement. Incorporate that and see the impact. Bring all these, the 7 sextuple helix models, these 7 groups here. Bring them into our classroom or take our students to them. Now it's a lot easier because we are using online learning and online teaching. You don't have to go there physically. So we can do that. So you are doing it in your language for occupational purposes course. Only then can you call yourself a Murabi. And this is humanistic education mentioned in our SAF just now. Producing, what do we want to produce? We want to produce a holistic and balanced individual, not a factory producing robots. We don't want to use robots. We are also promoting the Islamic ecosystem. So if you look at SAF again, the next slide, SAF. If you look at the next slide, we have the religion, the maqasid, we have the vision, mission statement, we have the formal activity, structure, non-formal student life. So for us, we are focusing on formal academic structure, and also we have a non-formal students' life on non-credited courses that we have with the students. And then we have the bi'ah, okay? Bukan bai'ah, bukan bid'ah. We have a bi'ah. You can circle that thing, yeah? That is the Islamic ecosystem. So this is the Islamic ecosystem that we want to produce. What is it? The pedagogy. Pedagogy, we talk about Murabi framework. So this is the time not to talk about Murabi. Next time we can have a webinar on what is Murabi framework and how to implement it. And then we have the masjid, mahallah, the community that is under social. And then we have the facilities, whether it's a library or the labs and etc. And a support system, IT, finance, and also counseling and etc. So this is the bi'ah that we have, the Islamic ecosystem that we have to support ourselves. And at the bottom, we have the falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan. So this is the falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan. You must remember that all you need to do is this jari, that is the intellect, kepala, head, H, intellect, the hands, H, that is the physical, hands, limbs, mata, telinga semua. The heart, H, that is the emotion, and spiritual ataupun the soul. So once we have this is to produce a comprehensive, a balanced, and also a holistic graduate. All this part of our body. You cannot just focus on the head only, but forget about the spiritual part of it. So, and the rest are supporting it. So let me share with you another slide related to our profession. So that is the falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan. Remember, don't forget about that. FPK, producing holistic and balanced graduates, focusing on the whole body. Comprehensive excellence, according to Prof. Kamal. Next slide, Datin, slide number 7. So if you want to be an educator, if you want to teach, these are the things that you must know in order to teach, in order to be an educator, in order to be a teacher, in order to be an instructor, in order to be a murabi. Teaching and learning model. If you're in education, this is a normal model that you have. You have number 1, what do you have to have in order to be an educator or to be a teacher? You have to know what to teach. Nak mengajar apa ni? That is the content knowledge. What to teach. The what for us in language teaching. So for us in language teaching, is teaching the language skills first. Mengajar, teaching reading, writing, teaching listening, speaking, grammar, pronunciation, kan? Sama ada bahasa Melayu ke, Arabic ke. This is what we teach. And then we go beyond that to English for academic purposes or English for occupational purposes, yang advanced. This is what we do. So we must know what to teach. If we do not know what to teach, then of course, Mr. Aisha has to help us lah, TDU and Portland. You have to come up with the professional training programs for that. So you have to know what to teach to be a murabi. Then you have to know that is in yellow, yeah? And then in brown, in green, you have to know how to teach these language skills, how to teach reading, how to teach writing, listening, speaking, grammar, pronunciation, for example, how to teach it. That is the pedagogical knowledge. How is the pedagogical knowledge? What methods kita nak pakai? Apa syllabus kita nak pakai? What language assessment? What about classroom management? Again, Sister Puan Aisyah, yeah, TDU and Portland, the coordinator of TDU and Portland, she and her groups are preparing a professional training program to develop a modules for this, so to help all of us. Then you have to know, and then the next one, the third one is the technological knowledge. Technology, kita ada content, kita ada pedagogy, and then kita ada technology. Oh, sorry. When we talk about pedagogical knowledge also just now, don't forget about professionalism also. Macam mana nak pakai baju, macam mana nak berdiri di depan student, macam mana nak menggunakan our camera, our online learning, teaching. Belakang saya tengah tidur ke, atau saya mengajar, saya tengah berjalan-jalan ke, atau minum. No, we have to be professional wherever you are. You have to be firm tapi friendly. Janganlah firm terlampau tu garang sangat. Firm and yet friendly and professional. So remember that all of us have to have this, the content knowledge. We have to have the pedagogical knowledge. And then the third one is the technological knowledge. You have to know what tools or platforms that we need to use, which LMS system to use. Nak pakai iTalim ke, nak pakai Google Meet ke, for example, which social media, which apps, so on and so forth. So these are the three things that you have to know in order to call yourself a teacher. Belum merabi lagi. And the first one is, the first component is the context. Kalau in second language teaching, the first one is culture. I'm sorry. The first one is culture. Now, in language teaching, second language acquisition, the concept is context. You must teach language in context. You must teach reading in context, writing in context. Tapi for the model, we call it culture, because some scholars will use the word culture. Dekat IUM we call it because ours has a different philosophy. We call it Islamicization. So it's the same concept: culture, context, or Islamization. Datin, what does it mean by culture? What does it mean by the culture concept here? Datin, can we move to slide 7? So the universal understanding is culture. In second language acquisition, it is called contextualization. For IUM, we call it Islamicization. So in terms of culture or context, we talk about 3 components. Number 1 is cultural familiarity. So that's why dalam buku kita, levels 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, or Arabic ke English ke, sometimes we change references to names. Instead of we talk about London, we talk about Kuala Lumpur or Mecca. We talk about food, references to food and items. Food and items that are similar to our culture, similar to our students' culture. We can talk about olio, salmon, for example. Tapi how many of our students know about that? So talk about food, names, and items that are familiar to our students. That is culture. That is contextualization in second language learning. And then we can Islamicize it. Substitute Islamic events, festival, text, or art. So whatever events, instead of Christmas, instead of Halloween, instead of Valentine's Day, we substitute it with our Islamic events, or our Malaysian events, or our Ummatic events. Okay? And so we talk about akhlak also. Culture is about akhlak. Kita pergi rumah Melayu, pakai kasut terus masuk dalam aja. That is, adab and akhlak lah. And professionalism. As a teacher just now, I mentioned that just because we are doing online, that we don't have to be nice, looking nice, and then we don't have to look professional. We have to look professional because there are so many teachers in front of us. There are so many students in front of us. Then they look at us. They want to use us as the model. And then the second category is the local relevance. Use the names and processes for local institutions such as our courts. Court kita macam mana, parlimen kita sana, kedai kita macam mana, stadium kita macam mana, for example. Whatever it is, our hospital, education system. Use this local relevance, contextualize it. Jangan pakai yang in the United States, because students are not from the United States. They are from all over the world, especially the Ummah is from is basically focusing on the Ummah. Be sensitive to Islamic behavior. Be sensitive regarding Islamic behavior norms. I'm not going to talk about local behavior because we're talking about the global picture. IUM, Islamic behavior norms, for example, in terms of gender, in terms of age, in terms of relationship. Ensure content is sensitive to the degree of rule of law in society, some other rule of law, religion, culture, and norm, and etc. Yeah? So that's what you have in terms of the topic, in terms of a chapter that you're going to focus on levels 1 to 6, or EAP and EOP. And also 3, and inclusivity for diverse students. Inclusive, okay? Semua can participate. So make sure that you have the appropriate reading levels of text for students use. You know very well, you know better than me, you have been doing it. So appropriate reading levels. Activities for different learning styles. Different students have different learning styles. Those that are using kinesthetic, those are visual learners, orang suka bercakap banyak, orang suka dengar, Chinese student, Arab students, Malaysian students, they are different. They have different learning styles. And also don't forget to accommodate students with special learning, educational needs. Make sure if you see that they have problems, definitely find out what are the problems and help them out. And so sensitivity to cultural, ethnic, and linguistic diversity. Our students are international students. Our staff are international staff. That is culture and contextualization is about. And sensitivity, don't forget also to students' socioeconomic status. We are doing activities, we're doing all these projects. Little that we forget that it costs a lot of money. Little that we forget that we have to deal with, we have to be in a certain environment that students in certain socioeconomic status will not be able to do it. So remember this, yeah, help them out. So this is basically, as I said again, for Aisha's forte, Iridium Poland, and working very hard to develop the modules for that. So once we have acquired this knowledge, whether through our university's education or through our professional development program under TDU in Poland, only then can we produce holistic and balanced graduates, graduates that have intellectual skills, the head, the cognition, the mind, the psychomotor skills, the physical skills, all our senses, the hands, legs, eyes, and ears, the social, psychological skills or the emotional skills, our heart, and the spiritual skills, the soul and the religion. This is the essence of falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan. This is at the heart of the IM philosophy. Berjaya di dunia dan berjaya dan bahagia di akhirat. Berjaya di dunia dan bahagia di akhirat. So we have shared our experiences on how to integrate MAS and SDGs in our course projects. Now it is the time for us to look at two examples of course outlines and try to integrate SAF in our course outlines. The first is the outline for LQ 4400, Arabic for occupational purposes. Latin, can we have that outline, Latin? Okay, we have this. So this is Arabic for occupational purposes. We have the first column. The first column is the learning outcomes. The second column is the delivery, methods of delivery or teaching methods. The third column is assessment. These are called constructive alignment. So if someone talks about constructive alignment, this is what it means. Aligning learning outcomes, teaching methods or delivery, and assessment methods. So how many learning outcomes are there? When we talk about these learning outcomes, I'm not going to touch on the way the learning outcomes are formulated or the content of learning outcomes. I'm just focusing on how to incorporate SAF in here. So there are three learning outcomes. The first one is use correct language forms in conducting meetings. So to use correct language forms when you conduct meetings, taking and preparing minutes. And this is done through lectures, discussion, task-based simulation, and group work. Delivery is all the same. Assessment, for this LO, we are going to assess it in the quizzes, midterm, final exam, field trip assignment, and project proposal. Remember, if you look at assessment, it's 35% coursework and 65% pen and pencil. So it's very big, it's the opposite there. So that is the first learning outcome, using correct language forms. The second learning outcome is write application letters. Application letters, business correspondence, as mentioned just now, memos, emails. So if we teach the students to write application letters, memos, emails, tolong juga dia bantu dia how to write to the adun, how to write to the member of parliament, how to write to the minister, and etc. This is part of the real life, to bring reality into our classroom. Technical reports, then the technical reports must be based on, help them to prepare a technical report based on topics based on SDGs and also makasid, resume and proposal. So following the correct format. So the red, I have added the red here. This is how a simple way. You can have a complicated way. This is a very simple way for you to add SDGs and makasid in learning outcomes. Write application letters, memos, emails, technical reports, resume, and proposal based on makasid al-syariah and SDGs. Because the topics are already based on makasid and al-syariah. And the activities that you do are also makasid and SDGs based activities. So might as well put it in your learning outcomes. You have the field trip assignment there on the LO2. So field trip assignment, go ahead. In the past, is face-to-face. Now you can go for a virtual tour. And LO3, compose a report based on field trip assignment and present an appropriate language forms. So you have to prepare for the assessment, project proposal and field trip assignment. So the topics that you are going to choose, or the students are going to choose, are makasid based topic or SDGs based topic or SDGs and makasid related topics. So might as well put it in the LQ3 there. Compose of makasid al-syariah, SDGs related. And the assessment is field trip assignment, that is 10%, and project proposal, that is 15%. And LO4, learning outcomes 4, or CLO, course learning outcome 4, present essays, oral and written based on Maqasid Al-Sharia and SDGs. So I added based on Maqasid Al-Sharia and SDGs. So when you're done a field trip, once you've done the project proposal, then you have to present it. So you have to present, you have to deliver an oral presentation. Present essays, oral and written. So you have the written presentation and also the written product and also the oral presentation. So based it on Maqasid Sharia and SDGs topics. And number 5, synthesize and analyze text. So this is part of that you do in your presentation, in your project proposal and your field trip assignment. So that is an example where you add on to your learning outcomes because you have that in your assessment, SDGs and also Maqasid. And this is an example of our next one, yeah? Example of our LED 1301. LED 1301. So course learning outcomes, again, delivery and assessment. So when talk about delivery, you have to face-to-face lecture in the past. Now we go for discussion and blended learning. Now it's online discussion, active learning, learner-centered learning, and etc. Yeah? And the assessment is 60% coursework and 40% exams, pen and pencil. That's okay, that's good. So as I said just now, I do not change anything in terms of the words, I just add on. This is not the time to scrutinize every word, but to add on SDGs and Maqasid in our learning outcomes. So learning outcomes 1, read critically, detailed, lengthy, and complex articles and identify final points, including attitudes and implied as well as stated opinions. So this is reading, your reading skills, fine. So when you do the project, these are the reading skills that you give the students, and the reading skills are based on Maqasid. That's okay, you don't have to put it there, that's fine. And this will be assessed in the report writing. What kind of content do you have based on your reading activities, and also in the final exam. Number 2, let's start with number 2. There are 3 learning outcomes only. Write clear, well-structured expositions of complex subjects based on subjects by expanding and supporting points of views, reasons, and relevant examples with opportunities for redrafting and revision. So how do you assess? It is part of the report writing. So for the LO2, you assess by asking them to write a report, or write an extended essay, and also in the final exam. So here, what you do is that when you write a report, when you ask the students to write an extended essay, definitely the topics will be one of the 17 SDGs, one of the 5 necessities of Maqasid. So might as well what is there? Write clear, well-structured. So put right, because it's not a presentation for LO2. It's a what do you call? It's a report writing. It's a writing project. Write clear, well-structured expositions of complex subject based on Maqasid Al-Sharia and sustainable development goals. There you are. So all the topics will be based on that. And third one is oral presentation. So you have report writing, you have extended essay, oral presentation. These are the project. So this is under LO3. Give a clear, well-structured presentation of a complex subjects. So the presentation, the oral presentation must be clear, must be well-structured based on a complex subject. So what else can you say? Complex subjects. There are so many complex subjects under SDGs and Maqasid. By expanding and supporting points of view, you have to support your points of view at some length with supporting points, reasons, and relevant examples. Yeah. So since we are doing it, since we incorporate SDGs and Maqasid, might as well include based on Maqasid Sharia and sustainable development goals. Then you can include in your oral presentation. So when you talk about multimedia oral presentation, the focus is on multimedia. But when you conduct oral presentation, you have to have you have to use multimedia to present. So these are examples, 2 examples. I've asked Bahasa Melayu to division to give me the example. Unfortunately, I asked late. They did not have time to give it to me, so I did not get a chance to work on the Bahasa Melayu. So sorry Bahasa Melayu, minta maaf ya. So we have English and Arabic for that. So let's look at do you have the Maqasid and SDG slide, Datin? The next slide. Okay, tak apa. Don't worry about it. So what I'm trying.
Would you like me to go back, Prof, to the Maqasid, the general slide?
No, don't worry about it. Don't worry. So we talk about maqasid and sharia, you talk about faith, life, intellect, lineage, and wealth. All the topics will be one of them. And you talk about the sustainable development goals. You talk about no poverty, zero hunger, good health, health and well-being. You are talking about clean water and sanitation, and etc., 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 plus religion. So any of the topics can be used for your projects. So basically, that is the end of my sharing session for now. Datin, wabillahi taufiq wal hidayah. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. And thank you, Datin, moderator.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Prof. I think we let Prof take a breather, take a sip of water. You already have a lot of questions on YouTube as well as in the chat, yeah, Prof. Let me see if I can try and read a question. There are many remarks as well, but I'll try and prioritize the question. There's one question from Datin Zurida Hayati. The question is, Prof, there could be students coming from the Western countries, looking at the rate of migration to those countries from the Muslim world, referring to the approach of culture that you just mentioned. I think this is just an observation from Datin Zurida. Would you like to add a comment to that observation, Prof? Yeah.
So the question is that there could be students coming from Western countries.
Yeah, the remark. Yeah,
migration to those countries or the Muslim world. So how to incorporate this in as far as culture is concerned in our classroom, right?
I suppose. Datin Zurida, are you with us on Zoom? Could you probably clarify what you want Prof to respond?
Datin Zuri on YouTube.
She's also on YouTube. She did write a direct chat.
Okay. So basically, there are two things. When we talk about Islamicization or contextualization in second language learning and teaching, or culture, socio-cultural values in language teaching and learning, there are two things that we have to look at. This has been discussed since 1990s, early 1990s. Where were you, Datin? 1990s, early?
Don't ask. I was in the States.
I thought, what you call level 1, level 2, level 3, level 4, level 5, and etc. And believe me, I salute those people, our friends and our colleagues who teach level 1 and level 2. I don't think I can do it again. It's very, very difficult. You have to be very good in teaching and learning. You have to be a very good actor. So I salute you. Not easy to teach level 1, level 2, 0 level, yeah, and for beginners. So assuming that they are at the intermediate level and above. So we want to incorporate culture. So when we talk about culture, we talk about Islamic culture, for example. And people will say, this is the question, yeah, this is the dilemma. But they need to know about Christmas. They need to know about New York City. They need to know about maybe what, Valentine's Day. I don't know. Some people argue that. So why can't we put in there? At that time, the discussion was that, yes, you can put it there, but make sure you put our cultural events first, our festival first. Then you can compare it with that. Or if you want to, if you have a textbook that doesn't have our Islamic events or cultural events, for example, they have Christmas or Thanksgiving Day, make sure that you compare that with our events and have a critical discussion saying, what is the benefit or what is wrong with these events? Are they in harmony with Islam? Make it a critical thinking discussion in the classroom. Is Thanksgiving Day, or what is it? What is the boyfriend, girlfriend, Valentine's Day? Is Valentine's Day in harmony with Islam? Is it part of Islam? Make it a critical thinking discussion activities. And then definitely you will have among the students that will be very good in terms, they can even quote Al-Quran and Hadith on that. And even you might have one student who says, teacher, why do you have Valentine's Day? Why do we talk about Valentine's Day? It's haram, teacher. So that will be one student. So we have to know, but if we cannot do that in our activities. So we have to focus on our own culture, but that can be done. But again, as I said, make it a critical thinking discussion. And the rest can help me on this also, yeah? Okay, Datin, next.
Yes, inshallah. I think Datin Zurida added a remark to that, I think, which you have addressed. So she mentioned, so shouldn't we be addressing a whole lot more cultures and not dismissing other cultures? So I think you have addressed that. This one question from Sister Noaza. She said, Prof, as teachers in IIUM, who also portray the model of a Murabbi, how do we ensure that our students have a strong foundation of Islamic culture while being open and objective to other cultures?
So this is why this Sejahtera academic SAF framework, why it was introduced, so that when we review our curriculum, the university curriculum, the curriculum must focus on falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan. Remember the balanced and holistic graduates. But before that, it must focus on the Islamic philosophy, our own philosophy. Our own philosophy focus on intellect, focus on the physical, focus in emotion, and also focus on the soul. It is Islamic philosophy, which was based on a recommendation from the Conference on Islamic Education in Mecca a long time ago, in 1977, if I'm not mistaken. So falsafah pendidikan kebangsaan is very new and recent. So if that has to be incorporated in SAF. So SAF is that. The question right now, how to translate SAF in our courses, how to, not only in our courses, that is pedagogy, also in masjid, mahala, and in the ecosystem, the bi'ah. Datin, ya?
Yes.
Bukan bid'ah, ya, bi'ah. Islamic ecosystem. So bukan saja kita dalam classroom, the whole ecosystem, sama ada di Gambang ke, di Pagoh ke, di sini, doesn't matter. So it must be there. So the question right now is, siapa nak pergi tengok and check dah ada ke dalam kita punya ecosystem? That's the next thing that we have to do, that is to assess, evaluate. Yeah. Okay, next.
Right, Prof. This is a question from Dr. Samsudin of Quranic Language Division. He said, I will summarize that. He said, I think it is a good time for CELPAD to think seriously about designing an Islamic language teaching and learning materials. And then, I think a course, that's what he meant, on Islamic language teaching and learning, then offering it as one of CELPAD courses. Your response and comments, Prof.
I would like to seek Datin, ya. I kena slow down lah, dahaga lah cakap kuat-kuat ni Datin.
Sorry lah, Prof. Nak bagi air pun tak boleh bagi air, kena ambil air sendiri.
Tapi if we are in a cafe, I will not be talking like this, kita relax. Yes.
Santai sikit lah.
I don't know, it's just like kita nak jadi lecturer or instructor, kita cakap kuat sangat, even though over a microphone. Minta maaf ya, everyone.
Go ahead, Prof.
So, kita dah banyak buat dulu. Remember, slow down sikit ya. Remember zaman Prof Kamal dulu, Islamization of knowledge, dia kata we must write a lot of books on Islamization of knowledge, books on history, books on psychology, and why not books on Islamic language teaching and learning? We can do that. Itu tak tahulah kalau Dr. Our director is here, is listening. And B is a good suggestion, good recommendation. We pull our resources kan. All of us, most of us are going to retire kan. Tak tahulah bila, who is going to retire next month, tak tahulah. Tapi umur-umur ni saya lambat lagi, saya baru 55, so tak apa. So most of us are going to retire. So we can pull our resources and help together, buat into Arabic, English, Bahasa Melayu, and Tilawah kan. Tak ada masalah, boleh, insyaAllah.
Inshallah. I'd like to invite anyone to speak up on Zoom. It doesn't have to be me reading out questions from the chat. Please talk directly to Prof. Okay, no one seems to want to ask a question. I have one burning question, Prof, because this webinar is actually conducted under CELPAD Research Unit. My very open question is, could you please enlighten us on some possible areas for research in the area of SAF? Because I think that there could be postgraduate students who are listening in. So, we probably want to carry out research in this area.
Usually the basic things about in terms of research, yeah, the basic things in terms of research related to SDGs and Makasid related to SAF is the courses that we have. I mentioned before about baseline data. Do we have any research on pre and post? Before we introduce a new curriculum, before we introduce SAF, and after we have introduced SAF, before we improve our course outline, our activities, and after. That is action-based research. That is research based on the classroom. Very simple. Tak payah ambil duit banyak-banyak, ribu-ribu. Kita punya kelas sendiri kita boleh buat. Kita buat kita punya survey sendiri, ya, pre-course survey. Kan sebelum kita start, bila kita start kelas, kita kasih survey about this. For example, my survey is that you have to indicate with the whether your knowledge is excellent, very good, average, fair, poor in terms of maqasid asyariah, in terms of vision and mission statement, in terms of pedagogy, in terms of FPK, in terms of learning to know, to do, to live together, to be, to become, etc. And then at the end, tanya lagi student, tahu tak? Itu the simplest one. Tapi tak lagi masuk dalam activities when you talk about your own activities, kan? So there are many things that we can do in terms of research. That is at the individual level. Yes. At the departmental level, the kuliah level, if we talk about outcome-based education, we talk about number one is the course learning outcomes. Kita punya courses, kan? Our course learning outcomes related to the program learning outcomes. Kita program Arabic, program English, program tilawah ni. So many courses, kan? So our courses ni relate tak to our program learning outcomes. Kita ada tak program learning outcomes? Kalau ada, kita tahu tak? Atau kita pernah tengok tak? Kita pernah compare tak? Kita pernah align tak? And then align it to SAF. SAF ni the program educational objective at the university level. Jadi tadi siapa tanya tadi mengenai apa ni SAF di apa ni, some other students are doing it.
Yes,
So
Sister Noazah asked the question.
Noazah. So that's how we see it. We implement it in at the course level, the program level, at the university level, for example. And kita tengok, kan, number one, direct assessment. Dia punya student performance at the end of the course ni, dia punya grade dia, performance dia bagus tak? A, B, and C. Itu in general lah. It is direct assessment. Indirect assessment, kita buat post survey, kan? Pre-survey and post survey. That is indirect. Direct assessment exam lah. Indirect is survey ke apa ni, interview ke, etc. That is one. And then selepas at the end of the semester, we compile all the courses. Tengok performance of students this year. This is baseline data, Datin, macam kita buat apa ni, EPT, kan? Yeah. For course ni, this semester, what's the average CGPA? What's the average performance? Average A ke B? Last semester macam mana? The semester before that, ada tak fluctuation dia? Apa sebab dia, for example? So that is at apa ni? Apa isu dia? Apa yang kekurangan dia? Jadi kita kena buat mapping course learning outcomes. Kita mapkan program learning outcome. Mapkan against items under educational university punya at the university level. Apa yang missing? Sama ada missing itu values ke, ada missing ke content ke, ada missing ke physical ke, emotional ke, apa semua. And then lastly, when they graduate, sekarang ni saya tanya Datin lah.
Saya lagi.
Okay, you have so many students have graduated, Datin, kan? Including yes. Kan? Have we ever contacted them and give them a survey, asking them about our courses?
No. No.
That is CQI, Continual Quality Improvement. Itu ada dalam Murabi punya framework. Continual Quality Improvement. Bukan saja at the end of the course, at the end of the semester, at the end, upon graduation. Saya lupa nak mention graduation just now. Upon graduation, and also 3 to 5 years down the line bila dia dah kerja. So that they will help us, they will tell us this works, this doesn't work, this is good, etc. Okay, so that is just a little synopsis of the content that I'm saying. Yeah, Datin?
Okay, thank you, Prof. There's a question from Datin Sabaria. Inshallah, I think she will ask live, inshallah.
Yes, Datin Sabaria.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Prof, sorry, maybe the last question. Actually, I need your opinion, your view about a student who are staying very abroad, maksudnya jauh sangat in the urban, and that the most important problem they always say that's about coverage. when they are learning, the problem is coverage. So the thing is, we tried our best using Google Classroom and even WhatsApp. And sometimes it's very rare for them to answer using WhatsApp. So how we approach them using this maqasid Sharia, because I personally, I don't like to give a warning letter, So what you think about this matter? Thank you, Prof.
Wah, ini a $4 million question ni. 4 million, thank you very much, Sister Sabira. 4 million ringgit to upgrade the Wi-Fi. Tapi kat sinilah, dekat sana, kalau dekat Ghana ke Sudan, I don't know, because that is out our jurisdiction. It's very difficult for us to do because it's over there, bukan kat sini. Tapi remember tak dulu, pendidikan jarak jauh. Datin ingat tak Datin, pendidikan jarak jauh, PJJ?
Ingat, zaman dulu.
Zaman dulu, masa tu 80-an kan, 90-an. So the question is that, how did we do it? Pendidikan jarak jauh, kita tak datang dalam kelas kan? How did we do it? Kita hantar, kita punya file tu kita hantar by post kan?
Physical.
Hantar by post, kita belajar. Adalah, saya tahulah anak saudara semua buat juga dulu kan. Then that is manually done because what to do, Wi-Fi is not good. Tapi kalau tak boleh, kita pakai whatever tools and platform that we have, sama ada WhatsApp, etc. If nothing can be done other than the manual thing by sending it through post, then you have to be very, very, not to be very lenient, but understanding in terms of assessment. Jangan penalize. Kalau tidak, nanti kita menjarakkan lagi orang yang socio-economic status kan, orang yang mempunyai Wi-Fi yang bagus, orang yang tak punya Wi-Fi yang bagus. Jangan menjarakkan gap itu. So you cannot fail people unless the person doesn't want to do it. But if the person doesn't have the technology, tak boleh fail. The person must write to you. But to me, if PJJ can do it in the past, we can do it. Tapi the activities can be, you have to look at the activities lah. Dia tak boleh buat group work, etc., because Wi-Fi dia tak bagus ya. But still, we can provide the documentation. If you have other suggestions and recommendations, put it there. Put it in the chat box. We share. This is a sharing session. Kopi mana kopi, Datin? Kopi mana?
Ada. Kopi, minta maaf lah. Kena minta lah your better half to prepare the coffee. Tapi ada another question, Prof, from Sister Lily Azlina, who is now the new coordinator for curriculum development. She mentioned in your presentation, you mentioned heavily on basing topics or issues on Maqasid and SDG. Are there any other aspects or areas in the course that can be considered to include Maqasid and SDG? Other than
EAP, EOP.
She said topics. She's talking about topics. Anything other than topics that could be include Maqasid and SDG tadi yang you mentioned tadi macam akhlak semua tu kot.
Just tell me what are the topics kan? Just topics and then we can align it. I give an example ya. We are talking about EAP, we are talking about EOP. These are upper intermediate level and above kan? What about level 1, 2, 3 and 4, intermediate and below? How are we going to include Maqasid? How are we going to include SDGs? Level 1, level 2 is quite difficult lah because that is literacy kan? Language functions. But when you go into level 3, 4 and 5, we can incorporate that in the topics. Remember level 3, 4 and 5 kita ada topics, ada chapter 1, topik ni, ini topik dia kita gunakan. The themes. Yes. Dan gunakan themes based on the Maqasid dengan SDG punya themes. Talk about life. There's so many topics about life kan. When we talk about drug abuse, it's about life also. Kan? It's talk about lineage. Okay, also healthy living is about life, also about wealth, about lineage also, and etc. So these topics we can sit together with our colleagues and choose apa topik dia, macam mana nak relatekan which SDG, which Maqasid punya komponen yang kita nak masukkan ni, kan? InsyaAllah boleh. We sit down together, insyaAllah.
InsyaAllah. Prof, it's already 11:40. Suara Prof pun dah serak. InsyaAllah. I'm going to go on to the last slide, inshallah, where your email is there, just for the information of others who may be joining us from outside IUM. So I think please feel free to address your questions directly to Prof at this email, inshallah. Yeah. Jazakallahu khairan kathira, Prof. Sarji, for sharing with us some of your insights. My appreciation to everyone out there who have taken time to be with us in this session. If you do have further questions, please feel free to email Prof or even or myself regarding the presentation. Thank you. I think that is all for now. Till our next session, inshallah. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Prof.
everyone. Thank you, everyone. We'll see you again.
Thank you, Prof. Thank you.
Thank you, Prof.
Thank you, Prof.
Selamat bersara kepada sesiapa yang nak bersara.
Thank you. Cara
Oh,
Okay,
Dr. Zul pun ada.
Ada.
Dr. Zul yang tolong saya buat slide dulu. Sekarang ni Datin yang tolong saya.
Oh, boleh lagi tolong Prof.
Saya tak
Thank you.
tolong apa pun.
Okay, terima kasih Prof.
Okay,
Assalamualaikum,
Assalamualaikum.
everybody.
Salam.
Okay, where are we? Raja Munira?
Yes, I can
Thank you
stop.
so very much.
Okay, welcome.
You dah stop recording ke?
Recording tengah proses je.